Why is Lee Min-ho, yes, the Korean heartthrob, suddenly being mentioned in conversations surrounding one of the most intense geopolitical conflicts in the world? It sounds ridiculous at first. But while missiles fly and politics escalate between Iran and Israel, something strange is happening behind closed doors. People in both countries, divided by borders, beliefs, and war, are watching the same exact Korean dramas. They're swooning over the same romantic scenes, crying over the same heartbreaks, and most surprisingly, they're falling in love with the same man, Lee Min-ho. This isn't just about escapism. There's something deeper going on here, something cultural, emotional, and maybe even political. So how did one South Korean actor become a silent thread tying two enemies together? Let's rewind. K-dramas have quietly taken over the Middle East for more than a decade. It started with curiosity, but it quickly turned into obsession. In Iran, despite heavy censorship and restrictions on Western media, Korean dramas somehow slipped through. Pirated DVDs, underground Telegram channels, and fan-subbed uploads kept shows like Boys Over Flowers, City Hunter, and The Heirs alive in living rooms from Tehran to Tabriz. And at the center of it all, Lee Min-ho. In 2014, Iranian media reported that The Heirs was among the top-watched foreign series, despite never airing officially. Women shared translated clips with each other saying the characters gave them a glimpse of emotional intimacy they couldn't find elsewhere. Some even said Lee Min-ho became the gold standard for how a gentleman should act. Now, cross over to Israel, and the story isn't so different. K-dramas have exploded among Israeli teens and 20-somethings, many of whom admit they binge-watch series on Netflix for days. Lee Min-ho's name trends regularly on Israeli fan accounts, and some fans even traveled to Korea in hopes of meeting him. Two countries on opposite ends of a brutal political spectrum, both quietly united by the same TV shows. But that's just the surface, because what's happening behind the scenes goes even deeper. Despite the hatred often pushed in headlines, young people from Iran and Israel are connecting through something surprisingly innocent: fandom. In private Facebook groups, international fan forums, and anonymous comment sections, fans from both countries are talking to each other, not about war, but about love triangles, K-drama cliffhangers, and Lee Min-ho's latest role. Some even collaborate to create subtitles in Farsi and Hebrew, side by side. It sounds small, almost trivial, but when almost everything else is political or polarized, a shared love for the same TV actor becomes a rare space for unity. These interactions don't end in arguments. They often end in laughter or tears over the same fictional breakup. Experts call this soft power, when entertainment crosses borders and builds emotional connections that even governments can't. In 2020, one international K-drama fan page noticed something odd. Their analytics showed a massive spike in traffic from both Iran and Israel during the airing of The King, Eternal Monarch. Different languages, different religions, different politics. Same actor, same show, same emotional reactions. So while the world watches leaders argue, missiles launch, and history repeat itself, a quiet cultural revolution is happening, led not by a diplomat, but by a man who just wanted to act. Now, some people say this is just escapism, that in a region torn apart by decades of war, young people are simply using K-dramas to tune out the noise and pretend everything's okay. And that might be partly true, because when reality feels like chaos, curfews, conflict, fear, who wouldn't want to disappear into a world where the biggest problem is whether the lead couple will finally kiss in episode 16? But there's another side to this. Some cultural analysts argue that this shared obsession with K-drama isn't about running away. It's about finding common ground in the most unexpected place. In a 2022 interview, a Middle Eastern pop culture researcher said, You'd be surprised how much more diplomacy happens in a fandom than in a conference room. She's not wrong. While world leaders struggle to speak the same language, fans across conflict lines are laughing at the same memes. They're crying over the same plot twists. They're even recommending new shows to people they technically shouldn't even be talking to. And what's wild is it's not political. It's not forced. It's organic. No one told them to bond over a Korean love story. They just did. So maybe it's not just fiction. Maybe in the middle of war, something as simple as a drama series, something that doesn't shout, doesn't accuse, doesn't divide, is the one thing that quietly brings people together, even just for a moment. So here's the twist. Lee Min-ho isn't a politician. He's not an activist. He doesn't make speeches about global unity or post political takes on social media, and yet somehow he's become a symbol of unexpected connection. In a time when the Middle East feels like it's constantly on the edge, fans from both Iran and Israel still share his scenes, celebrate his birthdays, and gush over his interviews, sometimes right next to each other without even realizing it. It's ironic, isn't it? A man who's never stepped foot in either country has done more to create common ground than some people in power ever have. Now, let's be real. Lee Min-ho didn't cause peace. He didn't fix anything. But in a world where people are more divided than ever, even the tiniest, quietest moment of connection matters. And maybe that's the point. Maybe stories, when they're told well, don't just entertain us. They remind us we're human. So the next time someone tells you that watching K-dramas is a waste of time, you can tell them this. A love story filmed in Seoul might just be doing more for peace in the Middle East than any press conference ever could. As a longtime fan of Lee Min-ho, I've followed his journey from Boys Over Flowers to Pachinko, and he's always represented something comforting, gentleness, emotional depth, and quiet strength. But after seeing this story about how he's unintentionally become a cultural bridge between Iran and Israel, I feel something even deeper. Hope. It's easy to see K-dramas as just entertainment, something we watch to unwind after a long day. But when I learned that people from both Iran and Israel, two nations locked in decades of conflict, are secretly watching the same dramas, falling for the same characters, and laughing and crying at the same scenes, it hit me hard. Lee Min-ho didn't try to be political. He's just doing what he loves. But somehow, through that, he's become a shared language, a way for people to connect without judgment, without fear, without borders. That's powerful. It makes me wonder if something as simple as a TV series can create moments of empathy between people who have been told to hate each other, what else could be possible? This story reminded me that peace doesn't always begin in governments or negotiations. Sometimes it starts in the quietest places. A living room in Tehran, a bedroom in Tel Aviv, two fans sharing subtitles in a Telegram group. I hope this message spreads. I hope more people realize that soft power, culture, art, emotion might just be the most underestimated force for peace we have. And as a fan, I'm proud, not just of Lee Min-ho as an actor, but of what he's unintentionally come to represent. A small but meaningful reason to believe we still have more in common than we think. What do you think? Can culture actually break through political barriers? Or is it just a temporary illusion, something sweet to hold on to in a bitter reality? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this kind of story makes you think differently, stick around. Because sometimes the next drama isn't on Netflix. It's happening right under our noses.